Every day, if you turn on the Nigerian news channel, you will either see one case of the Economic and Financial Crimes Commission parading an internet fraudster, or someone being arrested for being a criminal. Basically, you have a lot of people, particularly young people, who are arrested and paraded for doing one thing unbecoming or the other for monetary gain. You have fewer and fewer people unwilling to work legitimately for one reason or the other, right? As a make to make ends meet. And this is not surprising, particularly given the rise in inflation, cost of living, difficulty, poverty, as the case may be. As you know, wherever there is high speeds of poverty, there will be high speeds of insecurity, there will be high crime rates. Fundamentally, you also find that where fewer and fewer people are embracing education, you have fewer and fewer people who will be productive members of society. This is expected. However, I find that there is another sociological phenomenon that can explain some of the behavior, the increasing behavior we see in more and more young people. I think it's a phenomenon that was described by Malcolm Gladwell in his book David and Goliath. He describes something called the principle of legitimacy. It's a very interesting principle, and it's a principle that says that first and foremost, if you want people, subjects, as the case may be, to obey rule of law, to recognize law, then first and foremost, the government must behave in a way that the subjects perceive as being good. Government must first and foremost behave well if they are to expect citizens to behave well. Now, the principle of legitimacy is based on three fundamental principles. Number one, the subjects must feel like they have a voice. This means when they speak out about something, when they have complaints, when there's a public outcry, their voice must be heard and their views must be taken into account. They should not be talking to a brick wall. That's number one. Number two, the law must be seen to be predictable. In other words, the law should not just change abruptly between today and tomorrow. The punishment for committing armed robbery should not change suddenly tomorrow. Like there should be an expectation of predictability of the law. That is principle number two. Principle number three, which is actually quite interesting. The law should be fair and should be the same for everybody. So in other words, there should not be a separate law for a group of people and another separate law for another group of people. So Group A and Group B should be subject to the same laws. There shouldn't be variance in how the laws are implemented, how the laws are interpreted, or how the laws are pronounced. These are the building blocks of the principle of legitimacy. Now, principle number three is very interesting. I say this because when you have these announcements about younger people, I would say with limited access and limited influence, being arrested for committing one financial crime or the other, white collar crime. And then you have people of affluence who have also been indicted for committing one financial crime or the other, ex-governors, politicians, with embezzlement cases running into billions of naira and dollars, walking free. You find that people do not think the laws are fair. So what it means is that the fundamental principle, number one, the building block, which is that the government must act in a responsible manner if they are to expect the citizenry to be responsible. So what it means is that if we have more and more cases of politicians going scot-free, of them getting fines for committing huge frauds with a pen and a paper, you would also expect that those who look at them, those behind, would behave in a similar manner. So in simple words, to address the problem of high or increasing crime rate, increasing fraudulent activities, increasing disinterest of young people in legitimate sources of livelihood. It needs to be addressed at the top, at the governance level. The law needs to be equal for all parties. So it's a very interesting principle. You can go read about it in the book David and Goliath, or you can just Google the principle of legitimacy. Many articles have discussed it after it was published in the book. It's interesting because it explains many of the ills in our society. Think about it. I'd love to hear your thoughts. Cheers.